Hi, I'm Dr. Patty Barch, and I got a little triggered this morning because I saw a news article that the government is, quote, encouraging pregnant people, how about women, to get the thing. And I got triggered for a couple of reasons. One is that pregnant women were explicitly excluded from the clinical trials, and women who were planning on getting pregnant were excluded from the clinical trials. And if they got pregnant during the clinical trials, they were kicked out of the trials. Since then, since they released these injections to the public, they have started giving these things to pregnant women. And it was all still considered experimental at the time, yet no one was given an informed consent form saying like, hey, we excluded pregnant women from the clinical trials, but we'll give this to you to see what happens. So that kind of set me off. And then I wanted to also talk a little bit about the terms safety and efficacy, because when I have a friend who he used to say all the time, if you say it enough times, people will believe you. And so, the world has been splattered with safe and effective. But what you need to realize is that those terms are relative terms, that the definition is defined by government statistics, and the statistics can change at any given time. I'm going to explain that a little more, and then I'm going to tell you a little story about when I did cancer research. So safe does not mean harmless. It just means, we think it's worth the risk. And effective doesn't mean infallible. It means we think it works, because what happens when there's enough data collected that it's not as safe as they thought or as effective as they thought, they literally just change the parameters so that they can still call it safe and effective. They just changed the definition. This is legit. So back in the 90s, when I did cancer research, I worked on a compound. It's not technically a drug until it goes to market. I worked on a compound that was phenomenal at curing cancer. It cured a couple of different breast cancer models, an ascites model, and a leukemia model. And the way clinical trials work is it's required by law. You start in cells, then you go to what would be considered like a lower species, like mice and rats. And then you, if things look good there, you have to do it in a more sophisticated species like dogs or monkeys or something like that. This is the way it works for drug development. So in the mouse models, so the compound I worked on was, here's me talking nerdy. It was a cytotoxic peptide that was a water-soluble dolastatin 15 analog called LU-103793. So yeah, I can talk nerdy all day long. So this thing was so flipping amazing. It was water-soluble, which was huge because a lot of these chemical compounds are not soluble in water, so they have to put them in all these weird solvents, which are toxic and dangerous to the veins and all that. It cured cancer, whether it was delivered intravenously, orally, or in the peritoneal abdominal cavity. The other thing was, it was completely non-toxic. The animals literally gained weight, which is like not what you see in chemotherapy research. So this thing was phenomenal. I actually presented 2 scientific posters at the American Association for Cancer Research meeting about how amazing this drug was in multiple tumor models. Fast forward, awesome in the the mouse studies, Then I think they did it in dogs. That was the type of stuff that happened at a different facility. It was fine in dogs, it worked fine in dogs. So then it goes into clinical trials. Phase 1 of clinical trials are toxicity studies. These are people who have failed other therapies. They've got really no hope left for the medical side of things. And they are put into research just to see, is this compound going to help at all, but is it going to kill them? And they're really looking to find how much can they give them without killing them. It's really a toxicity study in phase 1. And if they happen to get any benefits, it's like a bonus. So some weird things started happening in phase 1, which was this amazing compound that cured cancer in mice and cell lines and no toxicity, or, orally available, really awesome stuff, started giving people heart attacks. So they sent it back to us, and we had to do some blood pressure studies in rats where we would give them the compound intravenously, and then we would measure their blood pressure, and we did see a spike in blood pressure. And based on all of that information, the FDA, or basically the company, shut down the research because we knew it wasn't going to go anywhere. It was killing people with heart attacks. So years, decades now have gone by, and occasionally when the television is on, usually for like a sporting event that we want to watch, we're seeing all these drug commercials where they are listing off all of these side effects, including death. And I'm like, oh my God, like 30 years ago, that drug would have died. Like it never would have gotten pushed through. But now the government parameters have changed to the degree that they're just going to put a little warning on it. And so like there's this like little box warning like you see on cigarettes on some of these drugs that say, all the potential side effects, including death. And you know this because you see these commercials and you hear them talk a little bit about the benefits, and then they go on and on and on about the side effects. So what you need to know with these shots, and especially these shots in pregnant women, is this is the clinical trial. But nobody is being given informed consent that, hey, if you think about this, the pregnant women were excluded from the clinical trial. So they only started injecting pregnant women around the beginning of the year. So at most, any of the babies who were in utero that survived the injection are, 3-4 months old right now. There's no way at this point to determine the long-term efficacy, the long-term safety of this for those babies. Like, you have no idea. Are they going to have autoimmune issues? Are they going to have fertility issues? Like, there's just no way to know right now what the potential detriments could be to these babies and to their mothers. Like, we're all still learning. If you're paying attention, you're hearing about tons of menstrual issues that are being reported in women who have received the vaccine and women who have been exposed to people who have received it. This is like rampant right now in the natural health world discussion forums. So what I want you to realize is safe does not mean harmless. It means somebody calculated the risk for you and made the choice for you, and they consider it safe enough. And if it were me and my baby, that's not good enough. So slow your roll, peeps. You cannot undo this once it's in there. And nobody wants to think they contributed to something that harmed their baby. I just want you to be careful. I just want you to be informed. I got lots more to say. There's more coming. Peace out.